I dealt with some of the more behaviour issues that came in. So anything from self-harm to sexting to all these things. And when you sit in the heat of the moment with families, when things have gone wrong and we're unraveling these things, you see how important clarity is with these topics. And whenever I'm writing these books, I'm thinking of a parent sitting with their child, and I could be writing on any topic. And really the key is connection and open communication. And that's what we've got to get going. To me, parents are bringing sort of baggage to this conversation.
Yes.
And I think there's a few things. Sometimes it's cultural too. Like our parents just didn't say a word, or they dropped the book on our bed and ran for their lives and just hoped we wouldn't ask a question. And there's one please don't, Jodi. This is the only please don't. I'm like, parents, please don't give.
Hi, I'm Dr. Jodi Richardson, and this is Well, Hello Anxiety. In a world that often moves too fast, we're here to pause, breathe, and understand anxiety together. Each episode will explore practical strategies, share honest conversations, and uncover the science behind anxiety and well-being, all while creating a space where it's okay to not be okay. Let's continue this journey together. Well, I don't know if you can tell, listeners, but I have already got a big smile on my face because I'm talking to one of my dear friends and colleagues and a guest that you will have enjoyed listening to me talk to on the podcast before, and that is the wonderful Michelle Mitchell. And oh my goodness, we are talking about a topic today that brings so much anxiety to parents. And we're going to alleviate that for you today, or at least get you on the way to feeling more comfortable with what can be tricky conversations with our kids, given that Michelle has written a wonderful new book. So for those of you that don't know the wonderful Michelle Mitchell, I'll give you a little bit more background. She is an author many times over. She's a speaker, and she is sought after for her compassionate, grounded advice, not just for parents, but schools turn to Michelle. They can turn to Michelle, and Michelle can counsel them through some of the challenges that they're facing. So she's so trusted here in Australian education. She actually began, like me, as a classroom teacher, but found a special love for well-being. And this amazing woman that I get to talk to today, she's done so much. She actually left teaching to establish a health promotion charity and a psychology clinic. So you can just picture kind of how many spinning plates it took to get that off the ground and really create a space where people could come to seek counselling and psychological services for young people and their families. She has used all of this experience and so much more to deliver her presentations in schools and her programs, her community events. The Resilient Kids Conference is one I've had the pleasure of speaking at. And really at the core of Michelle's work is helping parents to be the trusted leadership presence that our growing kids need. We really need that. Parenting is so hard. I had that parenting is hard conversation just this morning before I left to come to the studio. And so, Michelle, we're so lucky to have you so you can help make this hard job a little bit easier, give us some really trusted insights, some ideas, and of course, tell us about your new book so our listeners know the topic of today's conversation.
Oh, Jodi, that was all so generous, and it's all right back at you. I have so much respect for your work, and your podcast is amazing. I listen to it personally all the time, and you are magnificent in every way. So you're my friend, and I appreciate it. Thank you for having me here. But I think I've worked so much with teenagers over the last 25 years. And I think in the last 10 years, just saw how much these big issues were affecting kids at a younger age, but knew we couldn't deliver the same information to an 8, 9, 10, even 12-year-old with the same language and in the same way we were delivering it to a 14-year-old or a Year 9 classroom. And I did know with education that kids think differently at 10 years old. And so all my books and my work that's written for 8 to 12-year-olds are very much written through the lens of how a brain develops at that age, and that real concrete thinking that they need to be able to layer it on their family values and things they already understand, and that humour is a door to their heart, and growing up is meant to be fun. So at the end of the day, I want our little people, before they hit high school, to know that they're smart enough not to be fooled, that they're confident enough to make wise decisions, and they're educated enough to know how wonderful their body is. And when I go into schools now and talk to grade 12s about consent, I can tell which kids have had a trusted adult, not just a teacher in a school do a lesson on consent, but a trusted adult walk the journey with them and have those conversations.
You speak to the heart of it, because where the information is coming from and how it is delivered and the questions that are asked and the understanding that you have when you do have these conversations, they're conversations we didn't have when we were going to school, and they're conversations that are hard for adults, having the chat, having the talk, and it's not just one talk, is it? It's so much to it. And your work in schools builds on what parents are doing at home and what opportunities students have to ask questions in their health education classes. I know that the high school where my children go, that there's recently been condoms on bananas in classrooms, and there's been a lot of a lot of laughter and a lot of humour and various things, but it's an approach to understanding their bodies, understanding consent, understanding sex, and it's not something that's easy for some families to talk about, is it?
No, and there's a whole lot of reasons for that. I wish we could be more classy than condoms on bananas, though, because it's not a joke. Like, I've sat with kids after parties and things have gone wrong, and it's been in those moments when I did have the psychology clinic, and I worked as a mentor because my background is education, but I dealt with some of the more behaviour issues that came in. So anything from self-harm to sexting to all these things. And when you sit in the heat of the moment with families, when things have gone wrong and we're unraveling these things, you see how important clarity is with these topics. And whenever I'm writing these books, I'm thinking of a parent sitting with their child, and I could be writing on any topic. And really the key is connection and open communication. And that's what we've got to get going. To me, parents are bringing sort of baggage to this conversation.
Yes.
And I think there's a few things. Sometimes it's cultural too. Like, our parents just didn't say a word, or they dropped the book on our bed and ran for their lives and just hoped we wouldn't ask a question. And there's one please don't, Jodi. This is the only please don't. I'm like, parents, please don't give a child a book and say to them, please come to me if you have a question. Because what you're saying to a child is, this book will replace me. And that's what I never want my books to do. It's not a replacement of you, parents. This is your opportunity to say, I have read this book. Page 148 was my favourite. I thought it was really funny. I'd love to either read it with you, or you read it and tell me what you thought. So you're saying this is an extension of me, and I'm giving it to you because I felt that this best reflected the information I want you to have as you grow.
What's the title of the book? And let's start there.
Okay, well, I've got a few. I've got A Guy's Guide to Puberty and A Girl's Guide to Puberty, and they were so popular. Parents were like, when's the chat coming out? The birds and the bee bit.
Yes.
And I've just released Where Do Babies Come From and Other Questions 8 to 12-year-olds Ask. And you alluded just before that it's not just about like the whole birds and the bees. The penis and vagina bit is like 5 minutes of an hour-long presentation that I would give in schools.
Yeah.
But it really is all those wraparound topics now, like consent and body image, and it's online safety as well. The moment kids understand what sex actually is, they have all of these questions. And I hope that I have made it incredibly age appropriate and given parents just enough to touch on those areas that they want to provide safety around in their kids' lives.
If a parent is feeling that anxiety, because like you say, it's very much we're a product of our upbringing. How was it addressed for us? How was it talked about at home? Was it talked about, or was it very hush-hush? And if a parent is feeling that anxiety about obviously the book is just a beautiful, you've got the 3 books, you've got so many more than 3 books, but when we're talking about where do babies come from and other questions 8 to 12-year-olds ask, it's a brilliant title because it speaks to the broader context of what you're addressing. But for the parent who feels like, oh my gosh, like I know this is important, but I just get this knot in my tummy, I feel a bit embarrassed, I don't know where to start. Yeah. What would you say to that parent who's listening saying, I know this is important, I need a little bit of extra help?
And that's a beautiful question. I would say, who is it awkward for? Is it awkward for your child or for you? And if it's awkward for you, why? And if you can answer why, it normally comes back to a myth that if I give my child this information, it might overexpose them or it might harm them in some way. And I like parents to flip that story and say, if I give my child this information, I'm actually strengthening my relationship with them. I'm building myself as the trusted resource in their life, and I'm giving it to them before somebody else does. So I just say to that parent, build yourself a narrative in your mind that makes sense to you. You've got to know your why. And when you know your why, it makes it easier. I'll also say this, if you get caught off guard and you do feel anxious, practice the poker face and then say, this is such a good question, but I really want to put some thought into answering that. And you know what kids are like at this age? They really like to be pumped up a bit. So you go, that's such a good, I really want to put some thought into answering that. But I think we could talk tonight at, let's say, 7:12. We'll meet in your room. You know how they love numbers? Yeah. 7:12 p.m. Let's meet in your room and I will get the best answer I can for you. They'll be counting down all day for that answer.
And it's such a big thing for a child to be thinking about. And it seems that the education around sex and where do babies come from, because of course there's sex for reproduction and there's also sex for pleasure. And the classic thing that when children often learn about where do babies come from, they look at their parents and like, right, okay, there's 2 of us, so you've done this twice. Like
two times.
Yes, 2 times. Yes, that
I
classic.
get that a lot. Yeah,
my goodness. So with the book, what are some of the ways that you support parents to obviously share information that's trusted? There's a resource that everybody can sort of keep coming back to. But what are some of the ways that you support parents to talk about these subjects that can be pretty difficult in some families?
Like that sex is attached to pleasure and that kids are maybe not developmentally even there. Because I get some girls, is there any other way? Is there any other way?
Not only for it to happen, but for the baby to come out.
That's it. Like they're just like,
yes, shock horror.
I know. And you can see some of their faces like almost go white, like I never want that to happen to my body. And immediately after I share that information, and part of my motivation, Jodi, for writing these books is I don't want like these precious, I guess, humorous stories I've developed and funny moments to die with me. I want them recorded somewhere because I've spent 20 years working this stuff out, you know. But after I share that information in a school, and some kids are clearly like shocked and I don't want that to happen, I say to them, and the best news is if you don't ever want that to happen to your body, you don't ever have to, because anything to do with sex has to be your choice. And then you're able to lead into that consent. And I say to them, the good news is though, you don't have to decide that till you are much, 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 much. And I say it about 30 times and they giggle. Much older. And the reason for that is because your mind and your heart are not even ready to make that decision. So that's why your instincts are bleh. And that instinct there is to protect you from having that desire before you're ready to, and you've got some other kids that are like, well, that is very interesting. Like, when can I have sex?
You said much later.
Like when you are much, much, much older.
Yes. But are children, just as a side note, sexual activity, is it getting later on average than it once did?
Or, it is.
Yes, that's what I'd read.
Yeah, it is. And I think kids are getting more educated. They're getting more health conscious as well. I think they're getting more me focused. So they're getting a lot more personal development focused. So they're getting a
Yes.
lot more focused on me for longer periods of time. So I think they're assessing risks a little bit differently, but also getting a little bit more self-development focused. Back to a question you asked that I didn't probably answer very well. My book's 250 pages, so it's not a picture book. And the part that we're talking about, the actual birds and the bees part, I use medical diagrams. So it's actual imagery of the body. So it's not a picture of two adults under the covers where kids are using their imagination, what's
Yeah.
going on inside of there.
Yeah.
So that's really important for me to note. And when I talk to kids, I say these are medical diagrams and really distinguish that from, what they would perceive as rude pictures on the internet, and that there is a very big difference. And I talk to them about medical journals and if they go on to, be a doctor or they go on to be an obstetrician. And I talk about that medical field and where those images come from. So I think third parting it. And so they're not looking at you and your body so much, but they're
Yes.
actually looking at those medical diagrams does actually help at this age because I think parents sometimes feel uncomfortable sitting next to their child and talking about it. And they're thinking, my kid is thinking that that's what we're doing tonight, It's just like, oh, it's all too much.
Oh goodness. Yes, there's a lot of what are they thinking and what questions are sort of boiling under the
Yeah.
hood for them. And it is, and it's so empowering. And one of the things that you spoke to earlier is one of the fears of parents is if I talk about it, I am planting seeds and they're going to run off and start having sex because we've had this discussion. They understand, what sex is and they've learned about it, which is couldn't be so far from the truth, could it?
No, the research is very clear that talking early and often actually helps our kids make better, wiser choices in adolescence.
Yes.
But I think the key that I've found is when I talk to grade fives about, say, condoms,
Yeah.
you think to yourself, what on earth does a year fiver need to know that for? So I've always gone, what's a really practical, tangible way that I can make this relevant to their lives? So I say to them, now that you have this information and you're a bigger person in your school, if you ever saw a condom on the ground, something that looked like this, then you would be the one who would be responsible enough to go straight to a trusted adult. And that's my cue to say sometimes those condoms can have sexually transmitted infections on them too. And that's my inroad to talk to them about that. So they would never pick them up and touch them themselves.
Yes.
And that's my lead in to talk to them about STIs. But it becomes very tangible in their world and it becomes a reason to talk to them about it that's logical. So
Yes.
I think parents need to realize there can always be a link to their world rather than them actually using a condom. That's not what we're talking about.
And it's introducing the idea. Presumably, you talk about what the purpose of a condom is at that stage. Yes. And so, it's just about age appropriate, early and often, and the comfortability comes over time. I know for me, when I was a 22-year-old, 23-year-old teacher at Peninsula Grammar School a long, long, long time ago, I was answering these kinds of questions for high schoolers in health education classes, and I felt pretty comfortable having these classes, having a question box, answering questions, and delivering, kind of the health information as a teacher in that classroom. And then with my own children, it's been early and often with us, and even some of our friends. They've just rolled their eyes at me like, oh my gosh, Jodi, like we can't believe you, like sort of a bit shocked at, and age appropriate, trust me, obviously, I do my homework, but I think I had the comfortability because I'd had the experience of talking about it long before I was a parent. Yeah. And what I've found now is that we can have much more open conversations, in the home if there's a sex ed class at school, as there has been recently, and then there's been condoms, and they might have actually been penises with banana caps on them. I'm not really sure because I think, I'm not really sure. I'm creating a visual here that's really interesting, but so one of our kids can come home and say, oh, we just had this class, and then there's a conversation about it at home, which is brilliant. So it's kind of going both ways.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I feel sorry, like, as in, like, parents are like, I've never had to talk about this and I've never talked to my parent about it.
Yes.
And so then, of course, when it comes out of your mouth for the first time and you're talking to a 10-year-old whose both eyes are just looking at you like, what are you doing to me? Like, you're talking about periods and blood and, like, I'm just about to pass out, No wonder parents need a good resource. Like, it's understandable, isn't it, that we need a little bit of a roadmap for this whole thing. I think you've nailed it. But we do. I think parents need to realise that whether they realise it or not, they are talking about body parts and they are talking about this stuff even when they don't think they are. They're planting not sometimes the higher degree technical information, but they're talking values all the time. So with every piece of technical information, even if it's what we're calling our body part names when our kids are very little, we are also wrapping values around that as well. So think about wrapping technical with values. And for parents who are listening who've got younger kids, Jodi's really giving you the very subtle advice that starting young is a great idea, and short, sharp sentences. And if they don't ask any more questions, you don't have to say anything else. Use their correct body part names. And that is such a protective factor when it comes to unsafe people or pedophiles.
Yes.
That is very, very important in this world. And that is one, really great piece of advice for parents listening in.
And it's like anything where there's anxiety, really the only way out is through. Once you start, you do that first hard thing that feels uncomfortable and you feel your heart racing and you feel like you might stumble your way through. It only gets easier. And the values that are guiding you and the importance of these conversations can really help to move us through when we do feel anxious. If something's important enough, a guest was saying that they had a client, a psychologist guest had a client that wouldn't travel more than 5 kilometres from their home. They had this hard limit. And the question was, what if your daughter was in trouble and she was 5.5 kilometres from home? What would you do? And the patient, of course, said, I would go to her, because you're driven by those values and what's important. And this matters a lot because we can help shape the decisions, the experiences and opportunities to connect and ask questions and be prepared. And if something happens or if something does go wrong, then we're that safe place to have those conversations as well. So I love that we're having this chat, and we do have a few giggles, but it's such an important topic. And I really applaud you for pouring your heart, energy, your stories, your expertise, and, crafting a book that supports families, not just young people.
Absolutely. And I think when you imagine your child potentially hitting grade 7 that first day, their world will turn and romance becomes a part of it. And then when you think of how many years it might be before they become sexually active, that's a wake-up call for parents.
Yeah.
And if you can start saying to your child at 9, there is nothing you can't ask me, even if it's awkward, embarrassing. I will always feel incredibly honoured to be a part of, the dialogue of your life. You can come to me with any questions. If we can just start that before they hit high school, they can't hear that enough.
Yeah, they really can't. They really can't. Oh, so tell me, what are some of the funny stories you've shared that you've got this, all these experiences that you've wanted to capture? Can you share a couple with us?
Oh,
a couple more, because
Jodi, I've got I've got some good ones. Okay, this is a really common one. Kids that know they're born with the help of IVF, you would not believe how many of them think they're lab babies. So they're actually born with chemicals or something. So when they see a petri dish and they start to understand what IVF involves and that there was, a medical team and people helping, they actually think they're lab babies. So that's one. And I just go, the minds, the concrete minds of little kids.
Yeah.
Another one is, a mum recently wrote to me. She bought The Guy's Guide to Puberty and left it on the bench, and her son came in and saw it and he goes, what's this? And she goes, well, I just bought you a book and I thought it might be good because you're getting a bit older. And he looked and he goes, oh, I already know about puberty. And she goes, well, what do you know? And he said, well, when I get my puberty, I'm going to wee out of my penis once a month.
Oh my gosh, the classic question. Tell me what you know about that.
I know. And they waltz around the playground with this information with no degree of accuracy, freaking each other out.
Oh my gosh, there's work to be done.
I know. I had two kids lining up once in the line right at the front. They were eager beavers. And one boy said to the other kid, he said, I was born with the help of a vacuum. And the other boy goes, a vacuum? And I was like, oh, sit down before you hurt yourself. Like, leave it to me, kids.
Oh, hilarious.
And maybe one more. This is funny, Jodi. Two girls up the front. And one girl's obviously had her parents really brief her well.
Yeah.
And she's come in super confident and excited and ready to go. And the girl next to her is anything but confident. She's feeling like super nervous. And the confident girl goes, are you ready for the chat? And this one goes, what's the chat? What's the chat going to be? And you can see her just shaking in her boots. Oh. And the confident girl turns around and goes, let's put it this way. Goodbye, childhood.
Oh my gosh. Oh, hilarious. Oh my goodness. Fly on the wall. You are the fly on the wall. You get to hear these conversations, but honestly, it's so empowering for them when they know, and it's shocking. Like, they do get, it's some of the information does stun them, doesn't it? And obviously, yeah, humour is a really beautiful way to sort of move through it. But what are the ways that you just, like, how do you describe sex to these tweens when you're having these conversations? Because look, it's easy, isn't it, for us to know as parents that schools have you come in. Schools have programs. They have programs that teachers are delivering as well, or they have an outside expert come in. But we can't leave it up to the school. So, you're the expert here. So that parents listening can sort of think, all right, well, how does Michelle talk about it? That's, obviously the book is a brilliant resource. But if you can, share kind of how you describe it, that would be brilliant.
Okay. I always think, if I can say this to parents first, you want to do it once and do it well. Okay. So I find that sometimes parents just try and put their foot on the edge of it and half describe it. But what happens is, because kids are so concrete in their thinking, they go away and make up their own imaginary story about it. And that's where you get a lot of misconceptions, like the lab baby.
Yes.
The other one is that babies grow in mums' stomachs when it's a completely different organ than the uterus. So you get misconceptions when you don't do it well the first time.
Yeah.
So, if your kid's eyes are rolling back, stop and start again another day. But if they're engaged, do it well.
Yeah.
So as a start point, you'll say to kids, sex is something really special. So you set it up with those values. And then you might say, when a man's penis goes into this part of a woman's body, and you're using those medical diagrams, and it releases sperm, which live in semen, and they've already done the puberty book, so they understand that.
Yes.
The sperm then gets a chance to travel towards that egg coming down. And because they already understand that cycle. Now, if you think about how long that takes to say, it's not very long.
Yes.
But after that, you get to fill in all of the gaps. And a lot of the medical diagrams that are there actually show then, okay, where the penis goes, then the sperm getting released, the little egg coming down, and then I go on to talk about how many times the egg doesn't meet the sperm, all the things that has to happen for it to use that bloody bed to help it grow, and all the intricacies around that, and how magnificent and gorgeous and wonderful life actually is, which is where you want to focus on really quickly.
Yeah.
So I think that's a simple start point. And then they'll have their questions, and that's when you get to add on.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for sharing that. I think that's going to be something that parents are going to be able to come back to. If I didn't, but if, I'm 51, so if you're of my generation and you did have the talk, sometimes it was about fear mongering. It was about don't have sex, you can get STIs, you can get pregnant, and all of the things to be afraid of. And you've just kind of flipped that around to talk about it's quite miraculous when we think about reproduction, and you'll get the reactions that are so cute and funny from tweens about how this actually the mechanics of it all, but the way you have the way you frame it, it's beautiful, and there's a lot of important information to know, but the way you've delivered that is a really beautiful place for parents to kind of draw from. And as you said, do it once, do it well in the beginning, obviously early and often. We're going to have lots more conversations, but that initial information doesn't take long to explain that. And it can come across in a way that really sets the foundation for other conversations to come.
And then you say to them, not do you have any questions, but what questions do you have?
Yes. Yeah.
See the difference?
Yes.
It's an assumption that they've got questions. The latest science actually tells us that the egg gets the final say on which sperm actually penetrates it.
Really?
Which is very new science and very different than some of the old picture books that are available for kids.
First in best dressed kind of books. Yeah,
that's right. Yes. It's not the fastest, it's not the strongest. And sometimes that egg chooses none of the sperm. So that's really interesting. And I find sometimes when kids feel anxious, when you can put the emphasis on some of those interesting medical, more scientific facts, it can get their thought process off so what, Dad put that where and, it can just get their mind on some of the more sort of, interesting facts rather than just things that they're going to loop over.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. Oh, you're doing such beautiful, wonderful, important work here. And honestly, it's the kind of work that you're doing that will change outcomes for young people, because the knowledge is power, especially around consent, especially around just even starting with naming body parts appropriately. And, one of the things, let's talk about it now, because one of the things that is still so often misrepresented is the vulva versus the vagina.
Absolutely.
Oh,
yes.
It shocks me. So tell us about that.
Yeah. And I guess, my puberty books are just there, but I have a diagram. And when I talk to kids, I say the most important thing that you need to realize is that if you're biologically born with male reproductive parts as opposed to female reproductive parts, you're going to look totally different between your legs.
Yes.
And so I do this thing where it's awkward part alert, because as much as we don't want, to portray that this stuff is awkward, trust me, parents, if you're standing in front of a room of 100 kids, you cannot deny that there's an awkward energy with some of the slides that go up there. So you've got to call it what it is, Yeah. So I go, okay, this is going to last for 10 seconds or 15 seconds. And it works. It gets us through those moments. Yeah. And you can see kids who are feeling a bit anxious, they'll grab the hand of the person next to them, or they'll put their hands over their eyes and do the peekaboo. It's so gorgeous.
Yeah.
But so just defining exactly what that is. And even for our young men, Jodi, there's so much talk in the news, at the moment about disrespect with our boys. The amount of misconception that boys have. I even, I think I mentioned earlier in this podcast just speaking to grade 12s, but that was something I did last week. And I was quite shocked about some of the misinformation that boys had about females' bodies.
Can you tell us a couple of things that they came up with?
Oh, look, really, even around consent and whether females could consent if they had been drinking and were clearly intoxicated,
Wow.
There is just a lot of misinformation, and not that boys are wanting to do the wrong thing, but are not educated.
Yeah.
And that's on us. And I was just like, this is on us. There was really good, decent boys in the room that they're like, Miss, I don't understand the lines of this. I'm not sure where I stand with this. What if girls are asking for me to have sex with them, but they're clearly drunk? Isn't that okay? And I'm like, oh, mate, we've got to come back to some clear definitions here.
Yeah.
You know, if this went before a court and this is the definition and we unpacked all that. But even them really, you could see the lack of sexual experience, but the vibrato that stops them asking real questions.
Yeah, yeah.
And so by the time you've got a 15, 16-year-old in front of you, let me tell you, as a mum of a 26 and 24-year-old, it's way different sitting down and talking to a boy of that age about female body parts and pornography. You are better off doing it when they're 10, 11, 12.
Yeah. Yeah, you really are. And goodness, I've presented to like 200 boys at a boys' school talking about anxiety and stress and the nervous system. And I know that can be a challenge for the ability for the boys to kind of like really take the information on and concentrate and be sensible about it. And, that's a very different topic. Mental health for some of them, you just know that you're really talking directly to some of those young people who have really experienced some of the things that you're talking about. But I can just picture it. I've been in those rooms. Yeah. I can picture it. Yeah. There's so many questions, but nobody's going to ask them because they don't want to be seen to be the one in the room that doesn't know because of the vibrato.
The most powerful thing is having girls in the room as well.
Yeah. I bet.
I find it so powerful, and I don't know if it's because I'm a 51-year-old woman, or 50, just about turned 51, but I don't know if that's the factor, that mum vibe, but being able to have both, in the room and them asking questions from a different perspective. And sometimes I get girls to answer those questions. And when girls ask questions, I get the guys to answer and I give my perspective as well. But I find that a really powerful teaching tool and a beautiful mix.
I bet you do. I bet you do. Oh, I wish you were around when I was at school. I tell you what. You're around now and we get to be friends. So that's even better. So Michelle, it's there's so much that we could talk about. Before we finish, what's one parting kind of insight that you'd like to share with parents who are listening before you tell us, please, where the books are available?
Okay, when your kids are 8 and 9, it's so easy to say yes to things because they're young and you can't see the potential in them being a big risk. Yeah. But you add 2 or 3, 4 years to that and they're in a different stage of development, it can be completely different. And technology is one of the things that I could inject into that scenario.
Yes.
Sleepovers could be another thing I could inject into that, with parties or whatever it be, whatever it be for families. But I'd just say to parents, if education doesn't come first, kids don't have the language to tell you when things don't go wrong, go wrong.
Right, yes.
So if you are letting kids on technology and you're not prepared to talk to them about sex, I would just be saying they don't have the language to tell you when things are going to go wrong. So education's so important.
Oh, it really is. And you've created something that just paves the way for parents to be able to have these conversations and build their own confidence and use your language and the diagrams. And you really are such a gift. And yeah, I can't thank you enough. I know what it takes to write a book. You are prolific in your writing. I know how much you love it, and I know how much your books are loved. Where can listeners get a copy of one of, obviously you've got the 2 puberty books and the most recent Where Do Babies Come From? But where can they find any of your books, Michelle?
All right. All my parenting books are available anywhere. Amazon's all the way from my website. Yeah. But my children's books are only available on my website, which is michellemitchell.org.
And it's MICHELLEMITCHELL.
.org.
.org. Thank you. I just wanted to get the spelling right. Yes. .org. Yeah. So you've got that website there. And oh, Michelle, honestly, I was so looking forward to talking with you today. It's such an important topic. The power of these kinds of conversations in our families is long lasting, and it can be tricky. I hope that today that our conversation has made that having those conversations a little bit easier for you as a parent listening. But Michelle, I just want to thank you so very much for your time and just the wonderful work you're doing.
We're building memories, Jodi, and thank you for having me.
Absolute pleasure. Thank you for sharing this time with me on, well, hello anxiety. Remember, understanding anxiety is the first step to managing it. Until next time, be gentle with yourself. Take things one moment at a time. Focus on what you can control and know that you are not alone on this journey. If you found value in today's episode, please share it with someone who might need to hear it too. I'm Dr. Jodi Richardson, and I'll meet you right back here next week.